Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Today, let me introduce myself. My name is Mr. Ocaña. I am currently a Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 teacher. And previously, I have taught 6th grade math, 7th grade math, 8th grade math, Algebra 1, Geometry, Algebra 2, Pre-Calculus, and Calculus 1. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take you through the Desmos calculator to teach you some basics on Desmos. So number one, just a little bit about what we're going to learn today. We're going to learn how to use the Desmos calculator with adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing integers. We're going to talk a little bit about square roots, how to calculate square roots, whether they're perfect or not perfect square roots. We're going to talk about squares. We're going to talk about order of operations using the functions so we can learn how to do that in Desmos. We're also going to have a crash course into linear equations and how you can plot a simple basic linear equation in y equals mx plus b into Desmos, and find your slope right away, find your y-intercept, and find your x-intercepts, or as they are called, zero. And of course, our slope is also called our rate of change. We're also going to talk a little bit about linear tables with form y equals mx plus b. We talk a little bit about slope or rate of change, y-intercept, x-intercepts, and zeros. We're going to be learning how to find slopes using Desmos. All this is going to be done through Desmos on how to find slope with two given points. We're going to talk about how to graph with two given points, assuming that they're linear. We're going to talk about x-intercepts and zeros. We're also going to touch a little bit on quadratics, on how to find the vertex, how to find the axis of symmetry, how to find the x-intercepts, the zeros, and the y-intercepts. We're gonna touch a little bit about graphing exponential functions, so graphing exponential equations or functions using the Desmos. So first, what we're gonna learn is we are gonna learn how to find Desmos on our web Chrome. So I'm going to go to Desmos, and the way I like to search for Desmos is I like to Google it. So I'm going to get the Google, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in Desmos calculator, and of course if you are in the state of Texas, I'm going to put the star version of this calculator, and I'm going to graph. I'm going to push a Google search. Right here you will find the graphing calculator Texas version. I click on that calculator. And of course, you have our Desmos that just pops out. So this is the calculator that we will be working on. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to do different concepts in math using the Desmos calculator. So first of all, you can also get this through an app, and you just click Desmos test mode. You got to find your specific state that you are testing in. And of course, you can get that via the app method, or you can get it via the website method. So first of all, just by looking at the screen, we look at the Desmos calculator. It is a graphing calculator, and this is a calculator that we use a lot for Algebra 1 end of course. So first of all, I do want to get my Desmos calculator, and I want to start playing around with some of these keypads. So we're going to first learn how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide integers. So looking at that, sometimes students have problems with what is a negative 3 plus a negative 5? Well, what is a negative 4 plus a negative 8? What is a negative 9 plus a negative 3? Or what is a negative 9 minus a negative 3? Well, no longer do you have to worry about that, because number one, all you have to do is come to the calculator. You see the screen right here. You have your keypad right here. You can shrink it and you can unshrink it. You also have settings. Some of the common settings that I like to do is I like to do negative 10 between axes of 10, negative 10 to 10. But the common setting that I really like to use is negative 20 all the way to 20. And that pretty much resets our graph on the setting value, sometimes the setting value. But once you start playing around with Desmos, you still will get whatever value is given. So if you would like to reset it to a base graph of 20 versus 20, You can enlarge the graphing calculator or you can shrink it, whichever way you want to, and you can play around with it. So let's go back to adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. Well, what is a negative 3 plus a negative 3? Well, all I have to do is input negative 3 plus a negative 3. And Desmos does it for you. You have a negative 3 plus a negative 3. That gives you a negative 7. Let's say I give you a value of negative 4 plus, and then the plus sign is right here. And let's say you want to do negative 7. Well, Desmos does it for you. You have a negative 4 plus a negative 7. It gives you a negative 11. And then, of course, playing around with the x's, I want to get rid of it. I just exit it out and exit it out. So let's say I have a problem where you have a negative 4 plus a negative 8. Gives me negative 12. But what happens if I have a negative and a positive? So let's say I have a negative 3 plus a positive 9. Well, Desmos can do it for you. You have a negative 3 plus a positive 9. You're going to subtract them, keep the sign of the biggest or the absolute value. You're going to subtract them and it's going to be 6. But no longer do you have to know the adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing integer rows. You can just input it on the Desmos calculator and it will do it for you. In addition to that, you can also do subtraction. You go negative 4 minus 5. And the answer is negative 9. If I want to input another problem like negative 5 minus negative 9, because sometimes you have double negatives, it will give you a positive 4. And the calculator does the work. So the trick here is to make sure that you let Desmos do everything for you. Even when you get into your multiplying, when you have a negative 3 times, all you do is press a sign here, negative 3. Gives you a positive 9. Or when you have something else like a negative 9 times 4 gives you a negative 36. So Desmos does everything for you, from adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing any type of integer. So even if you get a problem where you have, let's say, a division, let's say you have 6 divided by 3. Well, no longer do you have to do 6 divided by 3. You don't have to do the inside divided by outside, denominator into the denominator and numerator. Now you know 6 divided by 3 is 2, and Desmos can do it for you. It can even work with negatives, and automatically it does everything for you. So that is a brief crash course on how to play around with the adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing features. Now let's go on to square root. So now we're going to learn about square roots. Well, you know the square root of 49, and here's the square root symbol right here where this finger is. Square root of 49 are two numbers that multiply to give you, two numbers that are the same, they multiply to give you 49. So the square root of 49 is 7. Why? Because 7 times 7 gives you 49. And so the square root of 49 is 7, or plus minus 7 if you want to be mathematically correct. But for the essence of teaching the Desmos, you have the 7 right there. If you want to find the square root of, let's say, square root of 81, all you have to do is type it in, square root of 81. And it gives you 9, because of course 9 times 9 gives you 81. And of course, even if you don't know how to multiply, the Desmos can do everything for you. That is square roots. Even if you have a problem like 2 square roots of 9, the answer is 6, because you don't have to do the math. It does everything for you. The Desmos does everything for you in regard to square roots. It can also even do squares. So if you get into the square and you say, well, what is 5 square? Well, 5 square is 10. Well, that's incorrect, because that's one of our common mistakes with some of our students. Well, 5 square, or 5 to the second power, is 10. No, it isn't. Actually, 5 square is 5 times 5. 5 times 5 is 25. So don't have to worry about that anymore, because all you have to do is put the Desmos, and the Desmos does the work for you. You have 5 to the second power, 5 square, which gives you 25. If you have another problem, let's say you have 6 to the second power, all you have to type in is 6, and you see this little a to the second power. You press it, gives you 36. But what happens if I have 8 to the third power? Well, I'm going to put in the 8 here. And let's say it's to the third power, which means 8 times 8 times 8. Well, of course, you let the Desmos do the work. This time there is no square. There is a third power. All you do is come to the a plus raised to the b. You press it, and it raises this to the up here. And all you do is put your exponent, which is a 3. And 8 to the third power is 8 times 8 times 8, which gives you 512. So just looking at the Desmos, Desmos even does squares, it does square roots, it does practically everything for you. So that is a brief adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, exponents, square roots, and that is very important to know on your STAR test because some of the STAR questions on the Texas State Assessment are squares, square roots, and just simplifying them, which I am going to get into later in another video so I can take you through some test taking skills to help you practice with square roots. So I'm going to go ahead and shrink the Desmos a little more so I can have a split screen. I'm going to get this out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and grab Desmos and I'm going to put it right here on my split screen. And then of course on my GoodNotes, I am going to target the next topic, which is our order of operations with functions. So if I go to my GoodNotes, I already talked a little bit about squares. I talked about square roots. But what happens when we deal with order of operations? Well, we can deal with order of operations and we can deal with inputting of functions. So looking at this, we have f of x is equal to 3 open parentheses x minus 5 raised to the second power minus 6. So again, looking at that, that is kind of a complex question, but it really doesn't feel complex at all because you let the Desmos do the work. So if you see in here, the x is inside the parentheses, so you are going to look at this one and you are going to say, well, x on this one is 4. And what happens on the 4? Well, if I have x equals to 4, I'm going to input it right here, and then that's going to give us our answer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split screen it right here, and I'm going to input this function right here, where x is 4. In place of x, I am going to put 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy it exactly the way the function gives you, x equals to 4. So I'm going to put 3, open parentheses. What is x in this one? The x is 4 right here. So I am going to put 4 minus 5. And then I'm going to close my parentheses right here. And then how do I get my square? I do the a to the second power right here. And then of course I got to subtract 6 from it. So I got to do minus 6. So I'm going to put minus 6. And the answer, just by looking at that function without even knowing the order of operations, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, or parentheses, exponents, multiply, divide, add, and subtract, Desmos will do everything for you, just knowing the basic inputting of the calculator. So that is that one. Now, going to the second problem, if you look at the second function, we want to work with this function right here again. And we want to work with this only right here. This is what we're working with. So I look at the next function. I want to evaluate the function with x equals to negative 4. So I'm going to put x equals to negative 4. And what I like to do is I like to take away this Desmos right here, and I like to just focus on this question. So where x is right here, looking at the red, I am going to put negative 4. So I'm going to just input it on Desmos. We're going to have 3 times negative 4 minus 5 square, close parentheses, square minus 6. So all I'm going to do is input it exactly like the problem is there. So it's going to be 3, open parentheses, x value is negative 4. I'm just going to type it in as is. Then I go minus 5 close parentheses, and then I square it, and then I go minus 6. And of course, Desmos does all the work for us. We have 3 open parentheses, negative 4, minus 5, all raised to the square in the parentheses, minus 6, and the answer is 237. The key here is to let Desmos do the work for us. So every time you do the work, you let Desmos do the work for you. Now we're going to look at this function one more time, and we're going to go to the last evaluation here. If you look at f, x is equal to negative 8. That right there, that is the extent of the work I am going to do. X equals negative 8. And of course, I want to write this negative 8 a little neater. It's going to be x equals to negative 8. So what am I going to do on Desmos? All I'm going to do is wherever the x is right here, wherever the x is, I'm going to type in negative 8. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the 3 right here. I'm going to open my parentheses. My parentheses is right here. I'm going to put negative 8. So I just type in the minus 8. There's no need to find a negative. Minus 5. And then, of course, I close it. And then after that, I raise to the square right here on the 8 to the second power. And then I go minus 6. So my function output, without even knowing the order of operations, without knowing to do parentheses exponents first, parentheses first, second is exponents, my answer is 501. With only doing inputting. If you know how to input into the Desmos, it's going to do amazing work for you. So of course, that's how quick you get those problems. That is a crash course on functions, on inputting x's. Now we're going to go into the linear equation. And some of you remember that this is a standard form for linear equation, your slope-intercept form, which is equals y equals mx plus b. And if I circle this, that m is your slope, and it is also called rate of change. Rate of change is slope. Slope is rate of change. It's the same thing. Whatever is here next to the x is your slope. That is your steepness of your line. This is a linear line. And of course, here you have the b, that is called your y-intercept. So now I'm going to teach you how to graph this type of equation into Desmos. So what we're going to do is you're given an equation. And look at all this that we're going to be able to do by just learning how to do Desmos. You're going to given y equals 3x plus b plus 6. So already just by looking at this, it is in y-intercept form. You're going to underline the slope. So the slope or the rate of change is 3. Just by looking at that, you have your given y equals to 3x plus 6. The slope or the rate of change is the number next to the letter, which is x. So then that's going to be 3. So the slope or the rate of change is 3. Now, Mr. Ocaña wants to know, okay, how do I find y-intercept? How do I find slope? How do I find those kinds of, I already found slope, but how do I find y-intercept and how do I find x-intercept? And another word for x-intercept is called a 0. And that is where it passes the x and y axis. So one of the things that you will have to know is you do know that this is a cross, and right here, this is your x, and this is your y. And when you deal with ordered pairs, you have an x comma y. The first one is the x, and the second one is the y. It's an alphabetical order. You have your x being your domain. You have your y being your range. You have your x being domain, and the y being your range. X comma y is your ordered pair. So what we're going to do is, how are we going to input this? Well, all you do is you get this one right here and you input it in Desmos. So how do you input this? Well, you just put it right here. Y equals, and then you're going to put in 3, the x is right here, plus 6. And remember that Desmos really pops out a linear equation, it pops out purple, it might pop out blue, it might pop out green. It really depends on Desmos' mood. Whatever Desmos feels, it's going to pop it out. So I'm going to look at this graph, and I'm going to really look at this graph, and I'm going to say, well, my slope is 3, my y-intercept is 6. So how do I do this on the graph? Well, of course, Desmos does it for us. All I have to do is hover. You see the x-axis, which is running horizontal. You look at the point, all you do is hover over it or click a couple of times. You have your x-intercept as being negative 2 comma 0. So your x-intercept is negative 2 comma 0. I already have my 0. I already have my x-intercept. Now if I want to find y-intercept, then I hover over it and it's 0 comma 6. And I want to take away my x-intercept. I want it to disappear. That's my y-intercept. So I have my y-intercept as being 0 comma 6. Now Desmos did all the work for you. You don't even have to do any of the work except to hover over it. Once again, negative 2 comma 0 is your x-intercept. Want to take it away? I click on it. 0 comma 6 is your y-intercept. So what we're going to do is, the question at hand is, what is your y-intercept? Well, where does it cross my y-axis? It crosses my y-axis at 0 comma 6. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 0 comma 6. So my y-intercept, where this line crosses the y-axis, is 0 comma 6. Where it crosses my x-axis is not that one, but it's that one. So it is negative 2 comma 0. Let's say I'm having a hard time figuring it out, and I say, oh, it's too small. All I have to do is enlarge it, and you can see your x-intercepts and your y-intercepts there. You have your x-intercept, you have your y-intercept. So who did all the work? Desmos. All you had to do was understand the concept with x-intercept, y-intercept, and slope. Now let's look at another one, and let me show you a little trick on Desmos on this one. So what we're going to do is we're given another one, which is y equals 2x plus minus 8. So automatically, if you look at this, I'm going to underline it in blue. My slope, or the rate of change, is 2. So automatically, just by looking at y equals mx plus b, my number next to the x is 2, and it is in y equals mx plus b. So my slope, or the rate of change, is 2. Now, what if I want to put both of them there? And I want to put y equals 2x plus 0. Well, I can do y equals 2x plus 3. So I'm going to input it. So I'm going to put y equals 2x right here minus 8. And there's my line. Of course, the black line is letter B, and the first line is letter A. That's kind of like your system of linear equations. So even dealing with the system of linear equations, as long as you put it in y equals mx plus b, you haven't even covered in algebra systems of linear equations. But guess what? You can find where they intersect. So that is a topic at a later time. But going back to my x, I have my y equals 2x. There's two lines now. Well, Desmos does this very friendly, where you can take off this by clicking on that. And now you just have one line, which is your black line. So the question at hand is, what is my y-intercept? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find my y-intercept. Where does it cross my y-axis? All I have to do is hover over it. There's my y-intercept, 0 comma negative 8. I want to find my x-intercept, or my 0. There it is, 4 comma 0. If I want to know what is my x-intercept, or my 0, it is 4 comma 0. It's where that line crosses the x-axis. If I'm given what is my y-intercept, all I have to do, that's my x-axis. I'm going to change that, and I'm going to see where it crosses the y-axis, and it is 0 comma negative 8. So the question at hand is, what is my y-intercept? Y-intercept is where it crosses my y-axis, was the one line going up and down. Click on it. It's 0 comma negative 8. No guesswork. That is the answer, 0 comma negative 8. Now let's say I want, the question that they're asking you is, what is my 0, or what is my x-intercept? Which is the next question. Well, let me look at it. Well, here's my line, and I want to find my x-intercept on my 0. All I have to do is click over it. and it's 4 comma 0. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and that is 4 comma 0. So I didn't do much work except understanding where my x-intercept is, what my y-intercept is, that this is slope, and that y equals mx plus b is my basic slope-intercept form. And if you look at that, it's the m is a slope, m is the rate of change, m is the 2. So it's the 2 as a slope. So that one goes through that one. Now, let's say I'm given a linear table and I say, okay, well, I have a table here given x and y's. Now I'm given order pairs and I'm given x is -1, y is 4, -4, x is 0, y is -1, and x is 1, y is 2. I'm given a table. How do I input the table? So I'm going to get rid of that one, and I'm going to get rid of that one. Now I'm going to show you how to do tables. So you get on your Desmos trusty calculator, and you see this plus sign right here on the Desmos. All you do is click on it. You're going to see the table right there. I'm going to click on the table, and you get your order pairs right there. So all I'm going to do is transfer whatever this is on the table, and I'm going to put it here. So I'm going to put -1, comma, -4. I'm going to put 0, comma, 2. And I'm going to put 1, comma, 2. So automatically, you see how it pretty much starts graphing it. And where did I make my mistake? I was supposed to put -1. Now it is. Now you see how it is graphing the table already given for you on Desmos. So there's a couple of questions I have. I want to know what my slope is. I want to know what my y-intercept is. I want to know what my x-intercept is. And I can even know what my y equals mx plus b is. So I'm going to get the table. I'm going to enlarge it. How do I get this? How do I get the table? How do I get the answer? Well, I'm going to just look at that. And does everyone see that little where it says 1 on the blue version right there? You're going to click the little item that looks like a leaf. Going to click it right there. It automatically forms your table. It automatically gives you the equation. If you look where it says under the table, linear regression, gives you the equation y equals 3x minus 1. You can already get your slope or your rate of change by just looking at that, and that is the slope is 3. We get your y-intercept as being -1, but if you don't believe me that is -1, then all you have to do is click on this line. So I click on the line and I want to find what the y-intercept is. I just click there. The y-intercept where it crosses the y-axis is 0, -1. I want to find out where it crosses the x-axis, and you click on it and it is 0.33333, 0. And how much work did it take? It really didn't take much work other than understanding what the x-intercept is, what the y-intercept is, what y equals mx plus b is, and that is it. So let's rewrite this equation. The equation that was given to us right there under the linear regression is y equals 3x minus 1. I know what my slope is right here. My slope is 3. I know what my y-intercept here. All I have to do is click over it. 0, -3. Not 0, -3. 0, -1. Why is it 0, -1? Because that's where the line crosses the y-axis. Then I want to find my x-axis, and I don't see it that well. I can always enlarge my screen. And I click on it, and there is my x-intercept, or so-called 0. 333, 0. So just by understanding how to put the graph, the table into Desmos, Desmos does all the work for you. So that is one. Let me give you another one. Oh, look at this one. Now I have two order pairs. I have 3 and 6, 9 and 12. Remember that the first one is x, the second one is y, x and y. And I can call this 1, 1, 2, 2, or I don't have to put any labels at all. So if I do a pair like this, x and y, I have two pairs. I have the 3, 6, which is 3 comma 6, and I have this one 9 comma 12. So automatically I turn that ordered pair into a table. So all I have to do to find the table is I get the table form, click on the table. This time I have two ordered pairs. I have 3 comma 6, which I turned into a table, which is x comma y. And then I have 9 comma 12, which is x and y, 9 and 12. So this is going to be 3, and I'm going to get it on Desmos. Right here, I'm going to click the keyboard. I'm going to put 3 on the first one, and I'm going to put 6 on the second one. And then on the next one, I'm going to put 9. And I'm going to click here, and it's going to be 12. What is the next step? I have these 2 points. I transferred the x and y here into the x and y here. I transferred the 9, 12 here into the 9, 12 here. I have my mini table. Next, I press this leaf, and I look at the equation. The given under the linear regression, I already can find my slope. My slope is going to be 1. Why is my slope going to be 1? It is y equals mx plus b. The slope is 1. It's next to the x. You see it right here. And my y-intercept is 3. But you don't believe me? It's okay. If you don't believe me, all you have to do is prove it. So we write it down right here. Y equals 2, 1. Let me put a little different color. It's going to be 1x. I'm having a little technical difficulties here. So it's going to be 1. Okay, get this enlarged. So it's going to be 1. Let me get. Okay, let me pause it.